Hey, what's up everyone? Aaron James Nahara here with the Light Dan Academy. Today, Nikon announces an absolute monster of a camera. Say hello to the Nikon Z8, a full-frame mirrorless camera from Nikon that inherits the latest innovations and features from the flagship mirrorless Z9, but has a much more lighter and smaller form factor. Specifically, it is 30% smaller than the Z9 and is actually 15% smaller than the D850, which many people deemed that the Z8 would be the true successor of the Nikon D850. Now, before we get into the Nikon Z8 specs, I want to travel back in time real quick. Let's go to 2016 when Nikon announces the D5. This becomes Nikon's new flagship DSLR camera, sporting a 45 megapixel CMOS sensor, also sporting an ISO range of 100 to 102,000 natively, expandable up to 3 million, which is like... It also introduced 4K video recording and it had 153 autofocusing points. The D5 was an incredible camera. Now let's fast forward to 2017 when Nikon wins the 2017 Red Dot Design Award with the D850. Basically what Nikon did is it took the best of the D5 and put it into a smaller compact form with that 45 megapixel CMOS sensor. It had 4K video, 153 autofocusing points. It did have the smaller battery, but it was also 400 grams lighter than the D5 and it was $3,000 cheaper. No wonder why so many photographers loved the Nikon D850. Now let's fast forward to 2021 when Nikon released the Z9, truly just blowing our minds at the capabilities of what a flagship mirrorless camera was capable of. It introduced the 45 megapixel CMOS stacked backside illuminated sensor, which by the way, in a nutshell, stacked CMOS sensors greatly reduce rolling shutter for video. It allows for better low light performance and it allows for more advanced autofocusing systems in cameras. The Z9 also introduced a blackout-free EVF, a 4-axis tilting LCD touchscreen, has a capability of shooting 20 frames per second in 14-bit RAW for photos, which is crazy. It introduced 8K 30p video recording and 493 focus points using Nikon's phase detection / contrast autofocus assist. So today, history is repeated with the Nikon Z8 taking the best of the Nikon Z9 and putting it into the smaller form factor. Let's check out the specs of the Nikon Z8. All right, so starting off, the Nikon Z8 is boasting the Z9's 45 megapixel CMOS backside illuminated stacked sensor. It's got the same quad VGA blackout free EVF. It's got the same ISO range of 64 to 25,600, expandable up to 102,400. It also has the same 4-axis tilting touch LCD screen. It has the same FPS rate at 20 frames per second at 14-bit RAW for photos. It can record in 8K 30 frames per second for about 90 minutes, and it can record in 4K 120 frames per second at 125 minutes. It's also capable of 8K 60 frames per second using Nikon's NRAW format. It's got the same 493 focus points using Nikon's hybrid phase detection and contrast autofocus assist. It's got the same deep learning autofocus system, which allows it to use the enhanced subject detection capability for photo and video, recognizing humans, pets, birds, trains, cars, motorbikes, bicycles, and now various types of airplanes. It features 2 USB-C ports, one for power and one for communication, featuring a full HDMI port. It uses the EN-EL15C battery, which also the Z5, the Z6, Z7 all use. So it's rated for about 340 shots. And if you want, you can add on the NB-N12 battery grip. So what that's gonna do is give you 1.8 times more battery life, and the batteries are hot swappable, meaning you can change the batteries out while you're using the camera. It is fully weather sealed and gasketed, able to operate in -10 Celsius, which is also 14 degrees Fahrenheit, which is a little bit better than the legendary Nikon D850. The body has a new pro grade carbon fiber composite magnesium alloy, which helps increase the durability while reducing weight. It also features illuminated backside buttons so that it's easier to navigate the back buttons during nighttime. The Z8 has a dual CF Express Type B and SD card slot for your storage, and the camera comes in weighing at 910 grams, which is about 430 grams lighter than the Z9 and is actually 5 grams lighter than the Nikon D850. Out of the box, the Z8 will feature all of the Z9 updates, which includes high-res zoom, high visible red recording frame indicator, focus peaking zebras, waveform, linear focus capability with Nikon Z lenses, has fine ISO control, customizable AF speed tracking, time code sync, and 24-bit stereo audio, and more. Let's talk pricing and availability. The Nikon Z8 will be available May 25th, 2023, and the price will be $3,999.95 for the body, which is about $1,500 cheaper than the Z9. This is the camera I think I've been waiting for, because when the Z9 was announced, I was like blown away. I was like, I want this camera. But the more I thought about the Z9, the more I was like, you know what? That's probably not the camera for me. I used to shoot with the D4S for a couple years, shooting weddings and things, and it was just so heavy and so bulky, very impractical for what I did. For wildlife, for sports photographers, it was a beast of a camera, but for wedding photography or vlogging and traveling, it was just too big. So currently I use the Nikon Z6 II, which is probably like the perfect camera for me. I love the quality that it produces. I love the 14 frames per second. I love the low light performance. It's such a great one-handed camera to use, and I absolutely love it. Now, the Z8 is much lighter. It is much cheaper than the Z9. I want a camera that has a bit more firepower in case I want to do like really high resolution product images and detail shots and things like that. So maybe the Z6 II is more up my alley, but getting all that firepower in a smaller package with the Z8, I think the Z8 is going to capture a lot of market with people looking for cameras in this price range. I did do a little bit of comparison real quick with other top brand names out there, and the Z8 is pretty much like on par with a lot of the specs, and it even excels at some areas than the other top brands out there being at the same price. So I'm really excited for Nikon and what the Z8 is going to do for the market, and I cannot wait to see the reaction and the reception from the photography world. I would love to hear your thoughts. What do you think about the Nikon Z8? Are you hyped for it, or is this kind of like old news? You've already been watching the rumors and you're like, all right, there it is, finally it's revealed. The Nikon Z8, I am super stoked for this camera, and I would love to hear what you think down below. So make sure you are subscribed to this channel for more content like this, and like this video please if you want to see more of our content popping up on your feed. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Gee. What's my longest prime lens? 105 2.8. My lenses are 16mm prime, and they're all Nikon. No like third brand Makatuka Pakatikas. All right, all Nikon. So Nikon 2.8 prime, 24mm 1.4, 35mm 1.4, 58mm 1.4, 85mm 1.4, 105mm 1.4.